I'm Aaron Hickman,
I'm Spencer Schultz.
And I'm Logan Shanks.
and you're tuned in to Cyclone InCYders. We're going to start off with some Iowa State soccer. Going into tonight, they've lost 5 in a row. They only have 1 goal in those 5 games. The numbers look the same as they have pretty much all year. They're still getting significantly outshot. Jordan Silkowitz is still going crazy, keeping the team afloat with saves, getting less corner kicks, et cetera, just getting outperformed in basically every statistic other than saves, which is not a good stat to be better than your opponent in. But tonight they have a must-win against Kansas State. If Iowa State wins and Kansas loses, they'll make it to the Big 12 championship tournament. What does the team need to do to come out on top against the Wildcats?
Honestly, at this point in the season, the team's identity really won't change. So I think, talking about them creating more opportunities, probably not going to happen. Not much creativity in the offense. So at this point, I think I guess rely on the strengths. Defense needs to hunker down. Silkowitz just needs to continue to play well, and the few opportunities they do create, they need to capitalize on.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Spencer. There's definitely an identity created by this team, and we can't really change that. Silkowitz has been a monster for us in the goal, and if we're just able to keep the ball on Kansas's side of the field and maybe create opportunities that you were talking about, and capitalize off those, that'll definitely make sure, you can only win by scoring goals. And when we're just out there praying that we can create opportunities, then Silkowitz just has to save goals for us. It's not really a good strategy.
Yeah, I think a big thing for Iowa State is just controlling possession, because if you can control possession, you will hopefully eventually crack through with a goal. And, the other team has been controlling possession a lot more. That's why Silkowitz has so many saves, because there's been so many pressure in the box on Iowa State's defense. So just kind of got to play some better defense, not let Silkowitz do everything. But like we said, that's kind of been their identity, and it's hard to change that this late in the season, but we'll see what happens. Head coach Matt Fannin said the players are doing things they want everywhere except in front of the goal. So basically saying that they need to be more clinical and make better decision-making once they get around the goal. How can they do that?
Really, I just think it's like we said, having a more efficient offense will create more shots for us. I think as long as Silkowitz hasn't had to, rely on all of us trying to play defense, I think that if we are able to just keep the ball on the other side of the field, create those shots, we'll be able to just score more goals that way.
Yeah, I just think it comes down to, working on the right things in practice, and then just continuing to build chemistry in that offensive buildup. I guess at this point in the season, it's kind of hard to create any more chemistry than you really have. But I guess that's my best advice for creating more chances up front.
Yeah, and it can't really just be one player trying to dominate things in the box too. Once they get in front of the goal, they need to do a better job of passing. Just clearly the decision-making has not been working when you have only 1 goal in 5 games. So it's really, like we said, it's late in the season, but you kind of just got to throw everything that you've been doing out the window and start fresh. And maybe if they're able to make it to the Big 12 championship tournament, that will be the fresh start that this team needs to gain some momentum for next season. But moving on to volleyball, they're coming off of 2 losses to the number 1 team in the country, the Texas Longhorns, which is nothing to be ashamed of. They're just not at their level. Luckily, they didn't move down at all in the conference standings. They're still 3rd, and they face West Virginia this weekend. Texas serving is what really caused problems for the Cyclones. Spencer, what can they do to create better passes off of serves?
I think really it begins with just putting themselves in better positions on the court. And I'm sure this is something the team has worked on with coach and practice and stuff. So I guess we'll just have to see how much they improve on that in their next game.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned about that. They just really seemed like they were in the wrong places when the serve came. And, we had some service aces as well. But overall in the game, we won the first set on Thursday. And then in the second and the third sets, they went on some early runs and we kind of got behind. And obviously, once you're down 2-1, there's not really much momentum that you have going into that fourth set.
Yeah, playing against the number one team in the country, there was a point in every set where Texas was really able to get on top and stay there. And part of the way they were able to do that was because their serving was really suffocating on Iowa State. And part of the reason was Iowa State had to start two freshmen with their libero, Maria Popovich, being out for health and safety protocols. And she's a big senior leader for the team. So that was a significant loss. But head coach Chrissy Johnson Lynch said she did like some of the things she saw. She thought the team fought hard. And when you're playing two freshmen and a game against the number one team, it's just going to be kind of hard to gain any sort of momentum. But a big player for Iowa State, Annie Hatch, she's been battling an injury this season, but she looked pretty solid against the Longhorns. It didn't look like that injury was really hampering her. How important is her health going to be to the team's continued success, Logan?
Yeah, I really think that she has been a consistent player that has been able to get us opportunities in order to get a kill. She's a really good leader on the team. So I think without her, it's going to be really difficult trying to get the team together and get the capitalize on those opportunities. But for now, even battling through an injury, we got to commend her for that and just being an all around great team player for us.
Yeah, having her back healthy just provides like another weapon for this deep Iowa State team. I guess just another quality option, can't hurt at all. As you mentioned, libero was out last week. So in moments like that, you want to have good depth. So having Hatchback healthy is nice.
Yeah, hopefully going into next week or this weekend, I should say, against West Virginia, Popovich will hopefully have some negative tests and be back, and Annie Hatch will be full health. West Virginia is fifth in the conference, Iowa State third, so it is a pretty big matchup because if Iowa State drops one or even two matches, it can shake up the rankings quite a bit. But moving on to women's basketball, not really anything that new, but one thing that did happen this week, Ashley Jones was named to the Cheryl Miller Award watch list as expected. Spencer, do you think she will repeat as the Cheryl Miller Award winner, and where should expectations be for her this year?
Yeah, I do see her repeating. I don't see her really slowing down. As far as expectations for the season, I guess Big 12 Player of the Year would be nice, which I still think she should have won it last year. But I think the main expectations for Jones this year kind of just ties in with the team and kind of leading them to making it further in the tournament after the way things ended last year against Texas A&M.
Yeah, and I really think that we just want to roll off of that, tournament loss. We still got a lot of the great players, younger players like Donarski is really kind of developing into what this team needs to be overall. And I just think Jones getting that recognition just kind of sets the expectation even higher for us. So I think really we'll be able to come together like we did last year. And, she's a senior, so she really wants to lead this team and just show them what we're made of.
Yeah, her leadership this year is going to be huge because she's, having someone who's been there, done that several times, and then players like Donarski and Ryan and her younger sister Aubrey Jones, who were freshmen last year and got a lot of playing time. Their development is going to be way ahead of other freshmen around the country who didn't play very much last year, and they have a couple freshmen as well, and Danae Fritz and Maggie Vick, who are expected to get a lot of playing time this year. So having those leaders ahead of them, I think, is going to help the team out a lot overall. And Fennelly and his coaching staff, they've showed a lot of trust in their players over the years, and I think that's going to continue this year. But looking at men's basketball, they took yet another hit with Blake Hinson leaving the team. He's now in the transfer portal. Logan, how shocked were you by the news, and how big of a loss is it for the Cyclones?
I honestly was not very shocked. I think when you think about it realistically, this is someone that's in the middle of his college career. He has a new coach. He's doing a new coaching system. It doesn't really surprise me personally that someone like that would want to transfer. I figured someone was bound to do it, whether that wasn't really not having confidence in TJ. I really just think he personally felt like he wanted to go to a different system and stay out of Iowa State right now. Just didn't really feel confident in it. But I personally think that it's not going to be that big of a hit. I think we're still going to be able to, kind of bounce back this year and, see what this new system is made of.
And I'm actually going to play devil's advocate here with what Logan said. I actually disagree. First of all, I was very shocked just because he already sat last season out. So I don't know if wherever he lands next, I don't know if is he able to play immediately if wherever he transfers next. Aaron,
I think as long as it's out of conference, he can. But if it's in conference, that might make things different.
Yeah, it just still shocked me though, because he'll still have to get integrated into that new system, wherever he goes. I know there's a new coach here, but he's still been here for over a year, so he's familiar with it. And then as far as the loss on the team, I see it as a kind of a big loss just because we've already lost Javon Johnson and Xavier Foster in this offseason. So an injury or two to this season's team and our depth, our team in general is just going to be in big trouble with a few injuries.
Yeah, so I see it both ways. I was shocked by the news, and I think it is a really big loss for this year's team, but I think for the future, it's not going to have that huge of an effect. Getting some of the younger guys some more playing time is not anything I'm opposed to this year. Obviously, you hope the team has more than 2 wins this year, but I'm not expecting much. They had a couple scrimmages, and from what I've seen, there's no official stats or anything, but they did not go very well at all. And obviously the season could be a different story, but I think just getting some of those young guys in there and getting more experience is not anything I'm going to have a problem with moving forward. So, it's a big loss for this year's team in terms of scoring and leadership, but overall for the future, I don't think it will have that big of an impact. But moving on to football, Iowa State had what I would call the first statement win of the season over undefeated 8th ranked Oklahoma State. Brees Hall did not have the greatest game, only 70 yards, 1 touchdown. I think he only averaged a little over 3 yards per carry, but the Cyclones still came out on top. So what do you think that shows about how this team has evolved throughout this season? Spencer.
I would just say overall this team, I think, is playing really good complementary football right now, just throughout all phases of the team. And that kind of, the defense has been a strength all year. The offense is picking it up, though, with, Hall kind of being full fitness level now, Purdy playing really well. And then the special teams has looked much better as of late as well with Mevis. So, I just like how we're playing good complementary football.
Yeah, and I personally really think it shows that even against the better teams in the conference, we're able to switch up the game. I really think a defining moment for me was one of the first plays of the game, a little tight end rollout to Kolar. It just showed that, the air game was how we were going to gain yards in this, they were stopping Brees right on the first couple of plays. So I really think Campbell and the rest of the team did a really good job of switching to trusting Purdy and throwing that ball.
Yeah, I think, earlier in the year, Iowa State was very reliant on Brees Hall. And it shows a lot that, Iowa State's been disappointing in September every year. But the fact that they are able to continuously improve every single year, because I don't think every program can say that. It is impressive that Iowa State just continues to look better and better as the season goes on, year in and year out. And I think that's what we're seeing once again this year, where just a few weeks ago, it seemed like the Big 12 championship was going to be a long shot. And now it's looking pretty realistic. So knock on wood. But going back to Brock Purdy, he was lights out again. He's second in the nation in completion percentage, has 4 games in a row with 80% completion percentage, I believe. And it just seems like he doesn't even throw an incomplete pass anymore. Logan, do you think Iowa State will ever have a greater quarterback than Brock Purdy? Not in terms of stats, but just in terms of legacy and what he's done for the program.
So I'm going to get a little personal here right now. So for me, legacy wise, it would be really great to know that, the quarterback that was here the first couple of years that I was in college, that I, kind of got to see his last 2 seasons. It'd be great for me to know that he would go down as the best quarterback in Iowa State history, legacy wise, but also, you'd love to see maybe in like 5-10 years, maybe we get someone that is like a Patrick Mahomes-esque or like a Vince Young-esque type quarterback in the Iowa State program. But just how this program really is, I don't think we're going to see that. But personally, I think it'd be great to know that Purdy goes down as one of the best quarterbacks in Iowa State history.
I don't see anyone really surpassing Purdy, at least in the near future. I know it's kind of impossible to predict. But Purdy kind of just began this era of, Cyclone's kind of becoming relevant. So like that just only adds to the legacy and kind of only makes it harder for future quarterbacks to surpass him as far as being the greatest Cyclone quarterback of all time. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's got like 30 school records, playing absolutely lights out this year after kind of a rough start to the season. And I also want to say that I don't think Brock Purdy is possible without Kyle Kemp doing what he did in 2017 and then giving up the starting job to him in 2018, coming back as a coach, and you see Brock Purdy after every single drive on the sideline talking to Kyle Kemp, basically. So go ahead.
One more thing. I also think another reason it'll be hard to pass him is because kind of like with college basketball, or college basketball more so, but college football as well. I don't know. It's just hard. You don't see like 4-year starters that much anymore in throughout college sports. So
yeah, that's another reason. I think even if another quarterback comes around and is better than Brock Purdy statistically, I think Brock Purdy will always hold a really special place in Iowa State fans' hearts, just because it did start with Kyle Kemp, but now for the past 4 years, Purdy has just been doing his thing, and it's been an unprecedented run of success for Iowa State, and I think that's what fans will always connect to Brock Purdy. So, but moving on to the defensive side of the ball, I was at the game on Saturday, and when they brought out and measured that fourth down that basically clinched the game for Iowa State when it was short, that was one of the top 3 loudest instances I've ever heard Jack Trice. And even bigger than that, they got that stop without Mike Rose, who got injured on the third down right before. So Spencer, what do you think that says about this Iowa State defense, that they're able to get that stop without the reigning Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year?
Well, first of all, watching from my couch, it was loud. The camera, multiple times throughout the game, the camera shook. I can tell you that. But as far as without getting that stop without Rose, it's important because it's something they might have to do this weekend, because I don't know if he's fully been cleared for this weekend yet. And we obviously need him for the last month or so with Texas and Oklahoma. Perhaps the Big 12 championship, we'll see. But it just shows kind of the depth they have. Not only has Campbell, helped rebuild this defense in his time, but their depth is also just a testament of how kind of deep he's made this whole Iowa State roster.
And I agree with you there. It shows that our whole defense knew the severity, obviously, of the situation, not having Rose out there. And, players like Hummel and McDonald really stepped up the whole game and, it was able to put us in that position to where, it was a 4th and short. We got to get a stop here and we win the game. So, and I agree with you there, Aaron. It was very loud. I had a great time too. But yeah, ultimately a great game defensively from players that you don't really always get to see step up.
Yeah, I think Iowa State has really had a next man up mentality all season. When Orion Vance was hurt, Jerry Vaughn played really well for several games in a row. He still gets a lot of playing time because of how well he played as a starter. And then with Mike Rose out, the fact that, Iowa State puts a lot of different packages out there with Haycock, and they put in a lot of different subs. So I feel like everyone on the defense is pretty warm in terms of the amount of playing time they get. They don't spend a lot of time on the sideline, so that helps a lot too. But yeah, getting that 4th down stop without Rose was huge, and it's something that I really like to see just moving forward, because this team will be without Mike Rose after this year, and those are the kind of plays you're going to need to see if Iowa State's going to continue to be successful. But these next couple of questions, I'm just going to provide a platform for some controversial topics. Xavier Hutchinson had a 51-yard touchdown called back, which I don't even understand the rule because the touchdown still happens, but whatever. He was called for unsportsmanlike conduct for doing like the smallest high step I've ever seen, looking back at the defender for maybe like half a second. But Logan, just I'm providing you this platform to talk about that unsportsmanlike conduct call.
So I think personally, before that, we have seen, and I can't really bring up any examples. I apologize for that. But I think we've seen more, if you want to say, disrespectful celebrations before and even after a touchdown was scored. I think a little, like Aaron was saying, high step and a little this ball still in hand, couple yards before. Come on, refs. It was a 54-yard touchdown. I think we can all agree. And, this is going crazy on TikTok, social media, everywhere, that this is one of the worst calls in college football history. But like you said, Aaron, we still get the touchdown. I won't complain about that. But it would have been great to see that call stand. So.
Yeah, one of the worst calls I've ever seen. Man, my blood's boiling just thinking about it. I'm glad. Two things. I'm glad Campbell, I love when coaches, show emotion, like defending their players, to the refs on the sidelines. And then I also love how Campbell, went back to X. Well, whether that's him or Purdy, both of them kind of showing that trust in X, and just kind of getting an FU to the refs. X getting his touchdown no matter what.
Yeah, I really like to see basically almost every play until he got a touchdown, they went back to Xavier Hutchinson. And he, that drive, that touchdown was his. It was taken from him. And I think they made a concerted effort to give a middle finger to the refs and get X's touchdown. And that's something I really like to see. And I think that was a big momentum thing for Iowa State too. Just, you took the touchdown away, but we're just going to go get it again with the same guy in a few plays.
Can you imagine if we lost by like 2 and we didn't get that touchdown back? Oh,
no, it would have been, Ames would have been in an uproar. But yeah, I think it's just another instance of a rule that is subjective. Refs are allowed to kind of take over the show and do whatever they want. I mean, a couple of years ago, Hakeem Butler caught a touchdown, stared at the DB, and just flipped the ball onto his chest. And that wasn't an unsportsmanlike conduct. But this official calls, Xavier Hutchinson's celebration and unsportsmanlike conduct. So I really think the rule, if they're going to keep it the way it is, it needs to be clarified for exactly how you need to call it. And refs need to stop trying to put on a show because people aren't there to watch them. But anyways, moving on to another controversial topic. After the game, beat the number 8 team in the country, undefeated, all that fun stuff. But Iowa State was favored to win by a touchdown. Fans stormed the field right after the game. Spencer, do you condone storming the field in that particular instance?
Well, I can't blame everyone because I know I've done it before versus TCU a few years back, and I mean I would do it again. It's fun. If I had to say though, I would say I wouldn't have stormed the field just because we were favored by 7, and I don't know. I just don't see us as like being that underdog Iowa State anymore. I just see us like, I don't know. I just see us being like with Oklahoma State, with Oklahoma, like all those teams. So I just don't think storming the field was necessary, but I understand why it happened.
Yeah, and I can agree with you there. When we think about this, really, we were favored to win. Yes, it was against number 8 Oklahoma State, but at home, great atmosphere to be at. And as a student, for me, I thought it was great. But when we think of this more as adults, you can definitely understand why the Big 12 commissioner has to come out, say something about it, how it can affect the opposing team. So I really just think realistically, yeah, it probably shouldn't have been done, but you can't really hold back that many people when you're doing that.
Yeah, I think it ultimately just comes down to college kids having fun. And, there's a lot of people there who might never get the experience to storm a field ever again. So they're going to take advantage of that situation. And, personally, I don't really believe in storm. Like I'm with you, Spencer. I think Iowa State is not that underdog anymore. I expected Iowa State to win that game. But, people are just going to have fun. And when there's an opportunity there that they don't know if they're ever going to get again, they're going to take it. And I think that's really all it comes down to. I don't think it's too serious. So, yeah, overall, personally, not a huge fan, but I don't have that big of a problem. I'm not going to sit here and criticize or anything. So moving on, West Virginia is up next. Logan, what are just your general thoughts about how this one is going to go for Iowa State? They are favored by 7.5, I believe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think really we can expect what happened in the Kansas State game. Obviously not exactly a Brees Hall, 75-yard touchdown right off the bat, but we were only favored by 7 in that. Another game that's on the road. I think that this is an opponent that, we're kind of going to get an early lead off against two into halftime and then just kind of carry that on like Iowa State does. So I really don't expect anything big to come out. We're not going to learn something new about Iowa State. We're probably not going to learn anything new about West Virginia. So ultimately just chalking it up to Iowa State getting a win against a Big 12 opponent.
You're still on mute.
I'm nervous for this weekend, just kind of being a trap game. And I'm just kind of nervous Iowa State still having an Iowa State moment, But yeah, nervous for it being a trap game with Texas the weekend after in Ames, and then Oklahoma, in 3 weeks. So that does make me nervous, and they've got a really good running back in Luddy Brown. And road games, no matter what, in conference, I don't care what anybody says. Like getting a road one is always big. You'll always take it. I think the key for this game though is Iowa State needs to start fast. I know I talked about in last week's podcast. Sometimes in the past, Iowa State has just started really slow on the road, particularly against like Baylor this year. So I just think they need to start fast, which I think they'll do. I think they'll take care of business and cover the spread.
Yeah, I'm with both you guys. I think, like what you said, Logan, it's going to be very similar to K-State, where Iowa State gets up top. They probably aren't going to blow West Virginia out, but it's going to be a game that in the third quarter, you just know Iowa State's going to win. And Matt Campbell, really for the past couple of years, since Brees Hall turned into the Brees Hall we know today, he's content to get that halftime lead and just take some air out of the ball in the second half. Defense just keeps shutting down the opposing offense, and you get out with a pretty simple win. And go ahead.
Last October game.
Yeah, last October game.
Yep.
Hopefully they don't have him throw it like 65 times like he did a couple years ago. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be an easy win that maybe is, score wise, it's not going to be a blowout, but Iowa State just takes care of business. So yeah, we'll take a quick break and then be back with our new game, 3-word summaries. Be right back. Welcome back to Cyclone InCYders. We're going to play a new game called 3-word summaries. We have a few different topics, and each one of us just give our 3-word summary for it and kind of explain what we mean. First up, we've got J.J. Watt, now the Arizona Cardinals defensive end, out for the year once again. Logan, 3-word summary.
I just have a regular patient in hospital-wise, but I just think that, this is something we knew that was going to come from someone, whether it was A.J. Green or Patrick Peterson, one of those guys always injured in and out of the season. And, it sucks. You hate to see injuries. And obviously JJ, he's a great player, great man on and off the field. And yeah, it just sucks that his season was cut short, had a sack and a forced fumble. But, quietly just being a really good defensive player for the Cardinals.
Well, Logan, I don't mean to call your bluff, but Pat Pete is on the Vikings now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Casual.
But mine just simply is feel for him. It's kind of happened in the past few seasons. And I think this season's probably the worst because the Texans haven't exactly been a contender when he has gotten hurt the past few years there. The 7-0 Cardinals, though, looking like Super Bowl contenders. And there's a picture of him and Hop after the game against their former team, just looking happy. And I don't think he thought it was that severe of an injury. So I just feel for him.
Yeah, so I want to start before I get to my 3-word summary. J.J. Watt is an absolute dog because he was playing through like torn bicep, stuff wrong with his shoulders, like anything possibly from your shoulder down to your elbow. he had wrong with him, and he still played that last game. So he's a beast. But unfortunately for my summary, JJ Watt's career is turning into what could have been. He's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time first team All-Pro, I believe, one of the greatest defensive players of this generation. And it's gotten to the point where he just can't stay healthy anymore. And it's really unfortunate because he's one of those guys he's just a good guy. A lot of the things he did in Houston after the hurricane will always be remembered. I think he's always going to be remembered for what he's done off the field. But on the field, it's just unfortunate that I think by the time his career wraps up, we're going to wish that we had seen him playing a lot more games.
He's still a Hall of Famer, right?
I believe JJ Watt should still be a Hall of Famer. Yeah, the impact that he's had, the greatest defensive player in the game for several years in a row. I don't think you can say he's not a Hall of Famer.
I think three-time Defensive Player of the Year, you should be automatically in. But
yeah, moving on to the next topic. Another pretty crappy topic: the Chicago Blackhawks scandal. That's been there was a lawsuit filed over the summer. Over the past couple of days, it's starting to come out what is really going on with the Blackhawks. Spencer, what's your 3-word summary?
I was just simply shame on them. If they did things properly in the first place, I don't know if I know Brad Aldrich had, more victims after the incident. If the Blackhawks do things properly in the first place, those victims might not ever happen. So I just shame on basically all sides involved. And obviously I feel for the victims in the Blackhawks organization.
Yeah, and for my summary, I just have time doesn't matter. I mean, it really comes down to they didn't really want this to come out to the public and address the situation because of how well their team was working, how well they thought their team was working together chemistry-wise and, making a push for the playoffs, all that. I personally just think with something like that, especially sexual assault, you can't let that just stand and try and push that away. It's a very serious situation. And I agree with you, Spencer, just shame on them for even thinking that they're just going to be able to get away with this and get away with a terrible thing.
So I've got legacy is ruined. I think it's pretty ironic that they made the decisions that they made because they thought winning a Stanley Cup was more important. And now all this time later, no one is really going to care that they won that Stanley Cup. Blackhawks fans will always have that Stanley Cup, but just the way they went about doing everything, I personally don't respect that championship anymore. I know a lot of other people are no longer going to as well. And I think it was just a very flawed way to approach it, just from top to bottom. The way the players reacted to it when they found out, and the way the front office and the coaching staff reacted to it. I think it's a good thing that pretty much everyone has lost their job. There's still a couple players left on the team, and we'll see if they have to answer for what they've done. But and then Coach Quenneville is the head coach of the Florida Panthers right now. He's refused to talk to the media for a couple of days, and I'm pretty sure the Panthers are going to be giving him the boot soon, which is a good thing because he has no place in the NHL and no place in the game of hockey at all. So yeah, just once again, everyone should keep the victims in their thoughts, and it's just a really messed up, unfortunate thing that happened, and that's something the Blackhawks are going to have to deal with now. Something that they wanted to keep under wraps that now is no longer under wraps, and they're just going to have to live with that. So choices matter. But moving on to our next topic, the Dodgers lost in the NLCS to the Atlanta Braves. So they were not going back to the World Series. The current reigning champions. Logan, what do you have for your 3-word summary?
There's a lot that you can say about the Dodgers right now, but personally, I'm just going to have to go with get Bellinger out. I think he had really statistically a bad season when he was in there. I don't really want to judge the character that much, but it really just seemed like he didn't really care about getting better. He made a little push towards the end of the season and in the playoffs, but personally, I just think, Dodgers, you got to get him out of there. I hate to just hate on one single person in that organization. There's a lot that could have happened, but I think they had a really good chance at, getting farther in the playoffs, possibly going to the World Series again. And it really, when you have someone like that, and probably multiple people on the team that don't really care too much about their character and how they act, how they play. It's just not going to help you win a championship.
Mine is Braves exceeding expectations. I think this is more so about the Braves winning than it is the Dodgers losing, just because I've been impressed with the way the Braves have kind of went through the postseason with Acuna out, their best pitcher Soroka, and then Ozuna. I don't think anybody thought they'd be here. All their deadline acquisitions were kind of not that big of acquisitions at the time, but they've paid off big time. And I was happy to see the Dodgers go down.
So I've got money for what? This is a year where, the Dodgers won it last year, but it was kind of one of those weird, that season kind of has an asterisk by it. I'm not trying to downplay, the Dodgers winning it last year, but more than any other sport, baseball regular season is 162 games. They only played 60 last year, which is like nothing. You just don't build up the amount of injuries, and you don't have to be as smart managerial wise when you only play a couple months. And this year, they just kind of got exposed in the postseason once again, which every other year other than last year has been a continuous theme for the Dodgers. They spend all that money and it doesn't end up in winning it all. They traded for Trey Turner and Max Scherzer at the trade deadline, which is just an insane trade that maybe 2 or 3 teams could actually pull off, but the amount of money that trade brought in is just ridiculous. And they lose to a team in the Braves who are just a better team. It's not a bunch of guys just thrown together. A lot of them have been together for a while, and the trade acquisitions they did make, like you said, Spencer, were just smart, even on the cheaper side too. So I think Brian Snitker is just a better manager than Dave Roberts. And that's really all there is to it. Money doesn't win everything for the Dodgers once again. But moving on, related topic. Spencer, what is your 3-word summary for your World Series pick?
Mine is Astros in 7. I think I trust the Braves pitching more, but I expect the Braves hitting, I guess, to slow down a little bit with Rosario, Peterson, Soler, and all those guys. And I just trust the Astros hitters because they've been there. Their lineup is so loaded top to bottom. I know it's tied right now 1-1. But I think I just trust the Astros a little bit more.
Yeah, my 3-word summary for the World Series pick is gonna be "Let's go, Freddie." I really think getting him a ring would be awesome to see. It sucks because Acuna would also get a ring. He's a great player in the sport, but he wouldn't be able to play. But still, I think he's had kind of a slow couple of games or a quiet couple of games in games 1 and 2, and like you said, Spencer, tied at 1-1. I really just hoping for Freddie and the Braves to pull everything back together.
So I selfishly just said, go Braves, go. My Brewers lost to them, and it would bring me great comfort if the Brewers lost to the World Series winner for the 3rd year in a row, because I just makes me feel like the Brewers actually lost to the best team. So it will personally make me feel better, but I'm also with you, Logan. I really want to see Freddie Freeman get a ring, especially when he is a free agent after this year. And I do think the Braves are going to re-sign him, but you just never can really know in the MLB. So I'd like to see him get a ring in Atlanta, and I also despise the Astros. So I do think I have a little bit more faith in the Astros to win, but the Braves have been playing like a team of destiny lately, and I'm hoping that wins out. But moving on to the next topic, we have the Iowa Hawkeyes moving up to 9th, despite having a bye week and being ranked 11th. Logan, what is your 3-word summary?
Yeah, for this, I just think explain the reason. I mean, I can totally understand, keeping a team right there. I didn't really think there was too much to shake up last week other than, Penn State going into 9 overtime with Illinois. But, and there's probably a couple other games I'm forgetting about. But other than that, I really just don't understand the reason for moving them up in the rankings when obviously, like you said, they didn't even play a game. So how can you prove yourself even more to go up in the rankings when you didn't even play a game?
Mine is Daddy David Bell. They can start referring to David Bell as their father. 200 plus yards. on to the best corner in the country, Matt Hankins, according to PFF. Continuously tortures them every year. I think we all knew Iowa wasn't the number 2 team in the country, even Iowa fans. I mean, moving up to 9, it doesn't bug me that much just because kind of in that 9 through 15 area, teams lose each and every week. So, I mean, it's bound to happen for them to move up just based off a few losses. So it doesn't bug me that much. But I'm not too worried. They'll move back down they'll move back down again when they lose again.
Yeah, for mine, I just have doesn't really matter. I think this year, even more than some past years, the AP poll has kind of been exposed as just like a beauty pageant. When you have unranked Iowa State playing number 8 Oklahoma State and Iowa State's favored by a touchdown, how much do the rankings really matter? And you have Iowa, the number 9 team in the country, playing Wisconsin this week. Wisconsin has looked terrible, and Wisconsin is favored by 3.5. So how much do the rankings really matter? Clearly they don't. The rankings just don't really make any sense this season. And with Iowa going up to 9th after a bye week, it just continues to do so. So yeah, just a classic case of the NCAA, just kind of doing whatever, ranking the teams that have established coaches and that look good but aren't really the best. Moving on to our final topic. Spencer, I know you're a Steelers fan and an Iowa State fan, so you're going to have a lot to say about this, but the rumors of Mike Tomlin or Matt Campbell going to USC.
What a joke. Give me a break. First of all, Mike Tomlin addressed it in his press conference Tuesday. He's not going anywhere. He made a great point. Well, why would he go from one of the best jobs in professional sports, a franchise like the Steelers, to USC, which I'll get to USC in a moment. And then Matt Campbell, are we even sure that's an upgrade? With Oklahoma and Texas leaving, Iowa State will be, can win the Big 12 on a yearly basis now. The Pac-12 sucks. USC is a joke. They're not the program everyone makes them out to be. They are the Nebraska of the Pac-12. I don't see any. It's a 0% chance either one happens.
Yeah, and for mine, I mean, I don't mean to bring up a TikTok sound in here, but I just said ain't gonna happen. I mean, Spencer, you addressed it perfectly. Mike Tomlin in his press conference just flat out said, "Do not ask me about this ever again." And his quote was, "Never say never, but never." And with Matt Campbell, I mean, did they even look at the contract that he was given after last year? He's tied up until at least 2026, somewhere around there, 2027. I just think those are 2 great coaches that both love where they're at right now. And it's easy to just point fingers at Mike Tomlin, just think, oh, their record isn't the greatest, but he has never had a losing season in Pittsburgh. So I don't really understand why right now he would want to leave, especially with the Big Ben era coming to an end and just being able to start new.
Yeah, I've got Carson craves attention. This whole rumor started with Carson Palmer going on a podcast and saying some stupid stuff and then going, oops, and just acting like, I don't even know. I feel like Carson Palmer should be past the point of trying to like generate buzz and just say something that will get Twitter going. But overall, it's like what you said, Spencer. It's just a joke. Matt Campbell isn't going anywhere. Mike Tomlin isn't going to go anywhere. If they were going to go anywhere, it wouldn't be to USC. So, yeah, I think USC fans can just kind of realize that that's all just a dream and it's not going to happen. So, yeah, Carson Palmer craving attention, which is kind of disappointing to see considering, how established he is. But I think that's really all it comes down to. But anyways, that's all we've got for Cyclone InCYders today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week. You've been tuning in to Cyclone InCYders.